Hey everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of the Survivalist Guide to Redstone. Oh, we just had a mushroom grow behind us. In this episode, we are going to look on how we can fix our sugarcane problem, because we need some sugarcane at... Can I help, sir? Can I... Hello there. Welcome to my cave. No, you may not have my... No, you may not have my grass, sir. Oh, well, now that that's taken care of, we have some sugarcane here. We need over, 140 some odd, or 100, close to 150, I think, so we can get enough paper for bookshelves. And today we're going to be making this. Obviously, I've already made it, but I'm going to show you... Whoops, we don't want to go in the nether. I want to show you how I've made it here, all right? But before I show you how we make this, let me get away from these cows because they're pretty loud. Before I show you how to make that, what we need to do is figure out how redstone power works. Because if you don't understand how redstone power works, how you power blocks, depower blocks, how blocks become powered themselves, and what you can do once blocks become powered, you're really not going to be able to go further in redstone adventuring at all. So let's head over to the creative test world, and we'll jump right into it. And here we are back in our kind of small... creative test world for redstone things, and we're not going to go over any of the circuits today because we're not sure how these circuits actually get their power yet. What we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to talk about each individual redstone, not each individual component, but some of the groups of components for redstone, and then we'll talk about how some of the power components power some of the mechanism components, etc., etc. But let's get right into it. Everything you see here is a power component, and what that means is they create redstone signals. Some of them can be permanently, or some of them can be in response to a player, a mob, environmental activity, or some of them could be like a quick flash of redstone power. Right here we have transmission components, and what these do is they take power from the power components and they transmit that power to the mechanism components, all right? So they carry the signal across themselves or out of a power component in case of some of these and transfer the signal to the mechanism components. And these here are mechanism components. Now what happens with these, why they're called mechanism components, is because when they get power, they react. And we've seen this a little bit, I might have showed you before, with a piston or maybe a light block. Essentially, if you power a fence gate, it'll open, all right, instead of you having to do it itself. Or if you power a redstone lamp, it'll turn on. So once it gets power, its state changes and it does something. Right here we have mobile components, and obviously that means they are components that can move. For example, you can move this TNT minecart somewhere and then give it a redstone signal, and the TNT will light and eventually explode. This boat here is a component that you can either get in and move around, or you can actually... I just forgot the button to get out of a boat. Or you can actually set this up in sort of a redstone circuit, and it will move around, and it can activate things like pressure plates, etc. So these components are mobile. And these two things here are miscellaneous components, and the reason is they actually are very important in a lot of redstone circuits. For example, opaque blocks, you can actually power these, all right? Anything that you cannot see through and obstructs light is considered an opaque block, all right? So sandstone is an opaque block. Granite, any of the stone, wood varieties, etc., wool, anything you cannot see through and doesn't let light through, all right? There is an exception to this, and that is glowstone. Glowstone you can't see through. It doesn't let light through it. However, it is considered what's called a transparent block, like glass, slabs, anything that you can draw a line of sight through, something that's typically not a full block. Now, what's the big difference between these two blocks? Like I said before, opaque blocks can be powered, all right? And you can actually take power out of an opaque block once it is powered with some of the transmission components. And you can power mechanism components with a powered opaque block. Now, I understand it's confusing. Don't worry. I'll make it make sense in just a second. But the, whoops, I always do that. But the transparent blocks cannot become powered, okay? You can put things such as, like redstone torches on top of some opaque blocks like fences and fence gates, etc. And you can also run redstone dust on top of some, transparent blocks like glowstone in a line. If you had more glowstone, you can power the redstone dust, but the glowstone itself does not become powered. And again, we'll get into that in just a minute. So let's talk a second about redstone power here as these pistons fire. You can consider anything or call anything that is powered, any block that is powered, as being electrified, all right? So here we see that some things give off a visual change when they are powered. For example, this redstone dust is powered, and it kind of is giving off some particle effects, which powers this light, which turns the light on. The same thing here, we have the particle effects, and now that this mechanism component, the piston, is powered, it has extended. And if I shut these off, it will unpower the redstone dust and unpower the piston, retracting that, shutting that off. But this one here, it is technically powered, but you can't see any changes in it, all right? Not even in the debug screen, it won't tell you, I don't think, anywhere that, that this is powered or not. You just have to know that it is, because redstone dust, a transmission component of redstone dust, is powering the block. Redstone does have a power level, and power level can vary from 0 to 15. Redstone dust, for every block that the redstone dust travels, so from here to here, it will go down 1 power. All right, so this is at maximum power, and if I pull up F3 screen, as you can see over on the right, it says power 15. Now, if we go over 1 block, it says power 14, 13, etc., until we go all the way down to the end, where this one says 1, and this isn't powered at all. Now, to show you that this isn't powered, I'll put a lamp here, and notice it doesn't turn on. Now, if I put a lamp here, even though this is power 1, the lamp still turns on. So as long as you have power on the line, you can still power components. Now, if I take that lamp away and we still have power 1 here, this redstone repeater, what it does is it repeats the power signal strength, all right? So it'll take it from 1, and if I put this here and pull up our debug screen again, we're now at power 15 again, all right? So repeaters will take in the redstone power signal and give out maximum strength redstone power, and then we go down to 14, 13, etc. in a line. And obviously it doesn't have to be a straight line. Now there is a different power, I'm going to call it a power level, although it's not technically part of the 0 to 15 power level that redstone dust applies by. It's called strongly and weakly powered blocks, okay? When you power an opaque block, you can either power it weakly, in this case, or strongly, in this case. Now, can anyone guess what the difference is between strong and weak powered blocks? That's right. A strong powered block has a power component or a repeater or a comparator running into the block itself. So in this case, this block is strongly powered. You can also strongly power a block, like I said, by putting any power component onto the block. All right, so then that block is now strongly powered. Now, a weakly powered block is a block that is powered only by redstone dust. Okay, so this one's strong because it has a repeater, a comparator, or any other power component powering it directly. But if you have redstone dust powering an opaque block, that makes it weakly powered. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, the only difference is weakly powered blocks cannot power redstone dust, you see? Whereas strongly powered blocks can. You see the difference there? So if it's weakly powered, that means redstone dust is powering the opaque block. You cannot pull power from redstone dust out of that block. If it's strongly powered, any power component, a repeater or a comparator, is powering the block, and you can pull a power signal from redstone dust out of that block. So whether you weakly or strongly power a block, you can still power redstone components. The only difference, as I said, is you cannot power further redstone dust. You see? So this block becomes powered weakly by redstone dust, but it still can power redstone components, just not redstone dust. And the same goes with this one here, except this one is strongly powered through this repeater, and it can power redstone components as well. And this is the same. The only time where this is different is any powered opaque block cannot further power another opaque block, right? So you can have this powered, this will not become powered, all right? If this one is powered, that one will not. So it won't power any redstone components. And to prove that to you, whether it's strongly or weakly powered, I will put a redstone lamp on this strongly powered opaque block. And this one still does not become powered to power this. So the last thing about strongly and weakly powered blocks is you can, with a weakly powered block, take a repeater out the back of it. So you can take a transmission from the weakly powered block itself, as long as it's not redstone dust, okay? So I can use a repeater or a comparator to use a weakly powered block to power other redstone dust. I just need those, either the comparator or the repeater, pulling the power off of it. I really hope all that made sense, because it is kind of a theoretical thing. It's not something that you kind of have to play with it in order to understand it. So if you do have the chance at some point, like I suggested in the first video, make a redstone testing world and follow along with me, all right? Follow along with what I'm telling you, because it does make more sense if you do it yourself, all right? And I do want to also take this opportunity, this pause here, to say if you are learning something or you're enjoying what you're seeing here, go ahead and smack that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you can keep up to date with all of this redstone nonsense that will help you in your survival guide world. So we talked a lot about different redstone components. We talked about weakly powered states versus strongly powered states. We've talked about a little bit about how to take redstone signals out of opaque blocks and put them into opaque blocks. Now let's talk about redstone power. How do you power blocks? How do different redstone components power blocks and then power blocks next to blocks, etc., etc.? And one of the easiest ways to learn this is to build a wall of redstone lamps. I'm serious. Just grab a bunch of redstone lamps and build a wall. Build a really big one if you want to, so that way you can test all the different redstone powering components, because they all work differently. For example, we'll show you how the redstone lever works here. So if I put this on this block and power that, these are all of the spaces that become powered. Sort of. So this block here, because the lever is attached to it, becomes powered. Because that block is powered, it also powers this block, and this block. Got it? So because the lever itself is a redstone component, this space is also powered, which powers this block, and this block. The same works with the button. It's the same power pattern, right? So if I go ahead and press that button, now, if we go ahead and switch the lever to the other side, obviously it's going to power this side over here. Power this block and these over here. And the same works if I put the lever down here, right? It's the same power pattern, quote unquote. It's just in a different location depending on where you put the lever. And this matters a lot when you're deciding which block to power, okay? So let's put a redstone torch down. Now redstone torches only power the blocks that are around the sides of the redstone torch, as you can see, right? It's not going to power the block underneath it. So it powers the block that it's in, which powers this block, it powers this block, and it also powers the block that's on top, which powers these two blocks and that one up there, right? Now, if I were to put this redstone torch on the side of the block, the pattern becomes a little different, because now it's powering this state here, which also powers this block underneath it, right? So this is something that I strongly suggest you all do, is just grab your Redstone Creative Test World, build a giant wall of redstone lamps, and just start powering blocks in different ways. So, for example, if I put this block here, put a lever on it, and turn this on, what happens? Well, it only powers this redstone lamp, right? So that's a lot different than putting the lever on the redstone lamp and powering it itself. So powering redstone blocks, or powering different blocks, excuse me, can become very confusing. And honestly, if you're building a redstone component for the first time and you want to see where you need to throw all these power sources and power, where you want to point power to, I would strongly, strongly suggest. There we go. I would strongly suggest that you build a redstone lamp wall. Now, eventually, we're going to go into each power component, each transmission component, and all the other components that are here, the mechanisms, etc., and talk individually about these components and what they can do for us. Today, however, we're going to talk about this block here, the observer. I love this block, mainly because, look at that face. Look at that face. This thing can be used in so many different ways. You can make a little statue out of this block. Whoops, if I actually place things correctly. Look at that guy, watching over your kingdom and your territory. But the observer block is one of the key components to many, many different redstone circuits. A lot of circuits that are very large, very small, etc., etc. And the one that we're going to use to get our sugarcane, all right? So what this block does is, when you place it down, the face is going to be facing the way you are facing, all right? So keep that in mind, because if you want to put this redstone observer facing towards you, it's not going to work that way. You gotta face it that way, okay? What is this face doing? Well, this face is looking for block updates. It's looking for block changes. And block updates and block changes are a little different between Java and Bedrock. So we're going to be talking about the Java ones today. So to show you what I mean by block updates, if I place something new in front of this observer, it's going to cause the redstone lamp to turn on. So what it does is it sends a 1-tick pulse out of the back of there. All right? And redstone ticks happen 10 times a second, okay? So some redstone ticks can be extremely fast. For example, that's so fast that it's just continuously on, okay? So if I put the piston down, it's happening very fast. There is a long list of things that the observer will see and change its state for, and one of those things is when crops grow, such as bamboo or sugarcane. So if we have sugarcane in a line here, and I put an observer block there, and let me re-grab all of my stuff, and I put the redstone lamp on the back here, once I imitate that the sugarcane is growing, I can do that by just placing another piece of sugarcane on this one. It's going to pulse the redstone lamp out of the back of it, right? So what we can do with this, we can take pistons and put them in a line, okay? And now we can take our observer and put it at the top here, because sugarcane will naturally grow 3 high. 1, 2, and 3. Now nothing happened, because we need to power some blocks behind the piston, soft power some blocks behind the piston, or weakly power, excuse me, so that way once these blocks become powered, these pistons will also become powered, all right? So we're just going to use some redstone dust here on top of the blocks, and if I break the sugarcane, you'll see the redstone dust turn on, and the pistons will extend. See that? And it happens very quickly. So once again, if I grow the sugarcane up, that will happen again. And you'll notice that when the sugarcane grows and the pistons push out the second one, it keeps the first ones down here to keep growing. It breaks all the other ones above it, and a lot of them will get pushed down into the water basin down here at the bottom. See? And we'll have a glass wall here, so any that come on to this block will hit the glass and go down into the water. So once we have this set up here, it's going to just, in the background, once as the sugarcane grows, it's going to just harvest it all for us. And we won't have to worry about a darned thing. And we learned about our friend the hopper in the last, I almost said the last class, in the last class. So this sugarcane will go in the water. It will end in a hopper that's down at the end of the trail here, and then go into a chest that will be right there. So an important thing to note with this system is we are actually powering these blocks by running redstone dust on top of them. All right, and that is something that, again, with the wall of redstone lamps, you can see, okay? So if I put these here, let's do one more on this side, and we'll come up over this way. If I grab some transparent blocks, so that way they don't actually conduct redstone signal, and I run some redstone dust this way, and I'll turn it on with a lever, you'll notice that the redstone dust that's on top of the lamp is actually powering the redstone lamp itself, okay? And this works as well with anything, almost anything, that you run redstone dust on top of, okay? If there's redstone dust on top of something, it will power it. In this case, the opaque block that we're using will become powered, and because this is powered, it will power the mechanism block next to it, like we talked about, right? Now, everybody, pop quiz. So, this is weakly powered. So if I were to grab some redstone dust and put it underneath it and turn this, let me get rid of this real quick, and turn this redstone dust on, oh, that's right, it's on a piston, it'll break, and turn this redstone dust on, it is not going to power the redstone dust underneath it. However, if I am to strongly power this block here by putting a power component on top of it and powering the block with that component, the redstone dust does become powered, okay? So that's something to know, is you can actually power redstone dust by powering something strongly on top of it. And we are back in the redstone guide world. You should all be redstone power pros at this point, because I totally am. Cough, cough, nudge, nudge, I'm definitely not. But after that, I hope that made a lot of sense to you folks. And as you can see here, we're just using 2 observers with a line of pistons behind it. Let me turn down these here cows, because it is obnoxious to have them hopping around in the background screaming. Anyways, we have these 2 observers here, and we have a bunch of pistons running underneath the observers at the 2nd block height of the sugarcane. So once these grow up to 3 tall, it will fire all the pistons, break them. They will go into this water here, the sugarcane, and go into this barrel, because there is, let me grab a block here real quick, because there is a hopper right behind here. I would break this, but I don't have silk touch. I don't want to waste a piece of glass. See, there is a hopper right there, so the hopper's pointing into the barrel, and the barrel is collecting the sugarcane once it's broken. And to just show you around the back of this thing, if I go ahead and break into here, I might be going too far. Nope, wasn't going far enough. So if we go ahead and break into this section here, come on, there we go. We do have redstone dust coming out of the back of those observers, soft powering or weakly powering these stone opaque blocks, okay? And those stone opaque blocks are powering the pistons once they become weakly powered, all right? So I just wanted to show you that this is a real-life application here. The nice thing about this farm is you can tile it on top of each other. So if you have another row of sand, you can put it on top of these observers here, or dirt, I believe, or does it have to be sand? Whatever. You can tile these on top of each other and just have, from bedrock all the way up to wherever you wanted to, a giant sugarcane farm with multiple cells. I might just go ahead and build another one of those up there. But that is going to conclude today's Survivalist Guide to Redstone. I really hope that you all enjoyed this episode. It was very informative. I certainly learned a lot, especially with that wall of redstone glass or redstone lamps. It's one of the neatest ways to learn how different things power different blocks differently. Don't worry, it makes sense. But make sure to hit like if you like this video. Continue to give that support because it's been absolutely awesome and it's been what's keeping me going. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with all the different redstone components and powerings and etc. etc. There's so much more to talk about, and we will see you all in the next video.